So we've got a question that's coming from Simon here. He says, love the game, but the handling physics don't quite seem right. Maybe because I'm comparing it to Dirt Rally. I'm not sure. So can we kind of talk a little bit about what we've changed from Rally and what people are experiencing?
Yeah, so I guess the first fundamental thing is to say that we haven't thrown anything away from Dirt Rally, but we've built on what we had, and the stuff that we built on was mainly the aerodynamics, but also we improved the way that the chassis geometry was modelled. But when you make fundamental changes like that within the engine, that requires adjustments to be made across the board, so it's not like you just copy and paste the cars that you had and they'll run just fine. Now what that has meant is that the way that the surfaces and the tyres interact with one another has also fundamentally changed, and we obviously got Petter Solberg and his son Oliver in, and they were able to spend a lot of time playing the rallycross, and I think we got very, very good feedback from them, and got pretty close to what the rallycross drivers wanted as a group for their cars to feel like. And so we're really, really positive and confident that rallycross is exactly where it needs to be. For rally, we didn't have as much time with Chris Meek, and we only really got to focus in on the modern cars, because they're the cars that he has the most experience driving. And I think from a modern rally car perspective, the cars do drive really nicely and they're in a really good place. But some of our historics are perhaps not to the liking of some of our fans who enjoyed them in Dirt Rally. Now, a lot of that has come from the fact that in Dirt Rally the simulation was more primitive, and therefore the way that the car moved around was looser and less predictable, and a lot of that unpredictability came from the way that the system wasn't really simulating things properly. By now simulating stuff properly, we've found that the cars are more consistent and probably have, I guess, what people are perceiving to be grip. It's not actually grip, but they're feeling like it has more that stability that's kind of holding it to the road and not letting it break traction as freely as it did in rally. And as a result, we do need to sit down and we do need to look at ways that we can improve that. How those improvements get brought into the game, or if they get brought into the game, we don't know at this stage, because it's such a fundamental thing to the entire experience, and it really is like a big thing to be switching up. And I think we had on Rally, we had that really positive aspect of having an early access process where we were able to make those adjustments, but it wasn't easy, and actually I would argue that we rushed the version 2 handling in Dirt Rally and ended up with something that felt better in some areas but not necessarily in others. So we need to make sure that if we do any changes, they need to be done properly, but the key thing is they need to be validated by drivers who have experience of driving these cars, and ultimately we need to find a driver or a number of drivers who have the real world experience, and we need to get their time to sit down and dial this in, because it's not just something that we can change based on many opinions that are coming through. This needs to be done as you would engineer a test session with a car, and it's going to be a long process, but you know, we are listening to people's feedback. We're certainly not ignoring it, and I don't want people to feel like we've done this and we're just going to hide and run away from it. This is not what we're about. We're about listening to our fans and trying to deliver what they want us to do. But the way that Dirt 4 has been released as a big upfront product rather than having a big beta lead into it means that the way that things are going to change is going to be slightly different to how they were before. But yeah, we are listening. Do talk to us. But please try and keep your your feedback as constructive as possible, because just saying it's arcade and awful is not true. We know it's not true because we're the ones that wrote the code, and if we set it out to be arcade, there wouldn't be a choice at the start of the game. It would just say you're playing Dirt 4 and this is an arcade game. We've given a choice of gamer and sim. Why would we do that if simulation wasn't simulation? It would just be crazy. So you know, you have to trust us that we will be listening, but you know, keep that feedback constructive, please.
And get in as much detail as you can as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you say that something's got too much grip, what car are you talking about, what surface are you driving on? If you can give us a video, that would be great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even go as far as telling us what you've tried in the setup, because a lot of our cars have been set up to be as neutral as possible, to make them safe to drive out of the box and consistent to drive out of the box. And a lot of the time, consistency comes in the form of understeer and things that make the car easier to drive by their very nature. But there are plenty of tuning options available in the game that allow you to go off and dial in, much more aggressive and nimble setups there. So if you are able to get the cars feeling great, tell us how you've done that. That's not to say do our job for us, but we're interested to know which cars are feasible to do that with, and which cars actually despite all of the setting changes that you make, you still can't get it doing what you want it to do. So